I'm tired of these absolutely vile rumors that I got Johnny killed. Let's look at the tape.
Cassandra Nova, a megalomaniacal you. Husk her charred remains while gargling juggernauts, 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 juggernauts.
Wow. Dear God, please kill me now. I hate my life, and P.S. You're a cock-chugging for approving that Disney Fox deal.
And you can quote me.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel released Deadpool and Wolverine on home video, so there's a whole bunch more deleted scenes, Easter eggs, and things that we didn't spot in the theatrical cut of the movie, so we'll break it all down. Not only did they release a bunch of these scenes, they also talk about a bunch of more scenes during the actual commentary for the movie, so I went through the commentary and also pulled a lot of that stuff for the video. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, and because they did just release it on home video, we'll give away a couple copies, but as you watch through a lot of these deleted scenes, they're talking about a lot of the different variants characters. People were asking, where was Blade's sword? If you look in the background here, you can actually get a much better HD, shiny shot of the walls of the inside of their base, which was meant to be the Darkhold Temple from Multiverse of Madness, which is why Scarlet Witch's statue was on the ceiling, because that was there inside the Darkhold Temple. Notice here all these weapons are Blade's different weapons, and you can actually see his sword from the original Blade movies on the wall. He just wasn't using it during the actual final battle, probably because they didn't want him using his sword and Deadpool using his swords at the same time too, so they just wanted to give him a different weapon so that it looked a little bit different on screen. But he still has his iconic sword, and there are a bunch of other Easter eggs in these weapons too. This is meant to be the Excalibur sword from the Eternals movie, but from another universe, pruned to this universe. This looks like a version of the Sword of Might, which actually belongs to Captain Britain from the comics, which would be from some universe. They didn't say which universe it came from, just that it came from another universe and it was pruned to here. That probably has something to do with all the rumors about Henry Cavill secretly playing a version of Captain Britain in future Marvel productions, which they then also paid off by bringing him back as the Calverine instead, which nobody expected. Henry Cavill himself did comment on the Captain Britain rumors a long time ago, like, well, I am British and I do love the Marvel movies, so it's probably them just poking fun at that. If you look here, you can actually see Strife's helmet from the comics. So if you're not familiar with Strife, Strife is meant to be an alternate future clone of Cable created by Apocalypse. They kind of got into the story where Strife is created during X-Men 97 Season 1 in the animation series. I don't know if they're planning on doing Strife during X-Men 97 Season 2 because supposedly they've tuned some of the plot for Season 2 and Season 3. But he winds up being an evil clone that they have to face, basically with the same types of powers as Cable. It sounds like at some point they thought about using him as an alternate villain in the movie, probably not the alternate main villain, but they did say that a lot of the background variants in the main characters changed just because there were so many different ones that they considered while they were making the movie. I already talked about how they thought about using a version of Magneto, Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, one of the Quicksilvers like Aaron Taylor Johnson Quicksilver or Evan Peters Quicksilver, Ben Affleck's Daredevil, Cyclops, Storm, Beast, pretty much any of the other main X-Men characters or characters from the backgrounds of any of those Fox Marvel movies were fair game for a while. They even tried to get a version of Danny DeVito Wolverine at first. They pitched it to the studio, but it was a bit of a no-go, especially once Hugh Jackman Wolverine came on. Ryan Reynolds also revealed that right after Avengers Endgame came out back in 2019, the Fox-Disney deal finished legally so they could start developing movies based on some of the X-Men Fox Marvel characters. He started pitching Kevin Feige on what would become Deadpool and Wolverine, but one of his first pitches was a Deadpool and Wolverine movie back in 2019, and at that time, Kevin Feige told him that it was a non-starter, meaning that he shouldn't try to put Wolverine in a movie because he had just died during the Logan movie in 2017, a couple years earlier. So the idea is that back in 2019, everybody at Marvel felt like it was way too soon, and at that time, Hugh Jackman still felt like he was retired and did not want to come back. That didn't change till a couple years later. Ryan Reynolds revealed he pitched Kevin Feige 20 plus different versions of the movie, some of them super low budget, some of them way crazier. We actually heard about some of them because there were a couple versions without Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. Because they actually started developing the movie, they hired writers before Hugh Jackman had signed on to do the actual movie. And in one of the early versions of the movie, this was still when Jonathan Majors was playing Kang. They were planning on doing Avengers 5 as a version of Kang Dynasty, and Secret Wars was going to be based more on the Kang plot too. Within the larger multiverse, the Council of Kangs was going to be acting a little bit more like the Beyonders, going around destroying universes, and the reason why a lot of the variants wound up pruned on the Void, because the TVA had basically turned good and stopped pruning a lot of variants after Loki Season 2, was because of the Council of Kangs. They were trying to save people from these universes that were being destroyed, so that's how they wound up on the Void in that version of the movie. In that version of the movie was going to be a more direct setup for Avengers Secret Wars with all the different variants like the Multiverse Avengers team, with the Void being more like a setup for Battle World from Secret Wars. Ryan Reynolds actually said that he fought with Kevin Feige, like not literally fight, but he actually pushed back on Marvel trying to make it more of an MCU movie tied to a bunch of other movies. The way he called it, a commercial for other movies, like make your movie a commercial for other movies. And what he wanted to do was make more of a love letter to the classic X-Men Fox movies. So that's why in the movie you only see some light MCU references in jokes, but really it's more about the Fox X-Men characters in those variants. There's only one scene that Kevin Feige asked Ryan Reynolds to change in the movie, and it was for an Iron Man reference at the end of the film when he confronts Paradox and they act like they're going to kill him until he tells them what's going on with Cassandra Nova and the Time Ripper and how to destroy it.
The immortal words of Anthony Alejandro Stark, Anthony Penelope Stark, Anthony Soprano Stark, Anthony Ingrid Shart, Anthony Edwards from ER.
Ryan Reynolds implies that the reason why Kevin Feige wanted them to take it out is because he felt like it was too much friendly fire, quote unquote. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I do think that the Batman joke that they replaced it with is just as funny, if not funnier, so it gets way more meta because you're referencing DC movies in a Marvel movie, which they did during Deadpool 2. Yes, it would have been cool to have some more Iron Man stuff in the movie, but I understand why they took it out. Also, probably the reason why Kevin Feige didn't want too many Iron Man references in the movie just in general is because they were doing so much with him during Avengers 5 Doomsday as this new version of Doctor Doom. I already talked about the scene with Happy Hogan. He actually said that there were a couple other versions of this scene, not just the versions with Iron Man himself being in here trying to interview Deadpool for a spot on the Avengers, with them wisecracking back and forth. But for a while, they were actually going to have Nick Fury here interviewing Deadpool for a spot on the Avengers. We haven't really seen Samuel L. Jackson in any of the Marvel productions since Secret Invasion, so we'll see what they do with him during Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. There are a bunch more deleted scenes that they released. There's a scene of Paradox being taken to task by Hunter B-15 before the events of the movie pick up, like before he captures Deadpool and the plot actually starts. What's happened since the end of Loki Season 2 is that Hunter B-15 is in more of a managerial position, and she's managing Paradox, which they explain is like a completely separate division inside the TVA, which is why everything looks different from what it looked like during Loki Season 2. If you remember the cityscape that they showed of the actual TVA, like the wider TVA, it's just a huge facility. So this is just meant to be like a vastly different place that we never visited during Loki Season 1 or Loki Season 2. And the idea of the scene is that Hunter B-15 is upset with him because he's requisitioned too many assets for what his job is supposed to be, basically watching universes slowly decay over time. Remember, after Loki Season 2, they'd essentially stopped pruning most variants, only like the most dangerous variants. They mostly changed the TVA to the KVA, the Kang Variants Authority. But as Paradox explained to Deadpool, he didn't want to just sit around thousands of years watching universes decay. He wanted to get rid of them way faster, thus the Time Ripper and the plot of the movie. There's the scene of Peter saying goodbye to Hunter B-15, making it seem like they actually went on a little date while they were busy picking up all the variants from the Void, because he says, thank you for helping with the quote-unquote Laura thing, which is them basically bringing X-23 to their X-Men universe, which is how she wound up at their pizza version of the shawarma scene. They kiss, implying that they might have some continuing relationship because Peter goes into his apartment, not Deadpool's apartment, but Peter's apartment, in the Deadpool costume, saying that daddy's in love, and you see Kidpool and Headpool, implying that he's going to be raising Kidpool and Headpool as his own children now. Ryan Reynolds said that his children are actually all over the movie in a couple different places. So one of his daughters played Kidpool. He actually said that he had to make her say all these crazy lines to him during the Deadpool core fight many different times in many different versions of the jokes. His new baby son Olin plays the voice of Baby Pool, even though Baby Pool is largely a combination of CG and practical effects. It's just like the giggles from his baby. And when Cassandra Nova takes Wolverine into his mind and you see the tombs of the dead X-Men from his team, you actually hear their dying cries as they're being killed, like he's remembering what their cries sounded like. There's a bunch of children's cries in there too, because there are a bunch of children at the X-Mansion that got killed. Ryan Reynolds said that a lot of those cries are the cries of his own children that just did voiceover for that scene, in addition to a bunch of other kids too. One of his other daughters, Betty, was actually credited in the end credits here as Hugh Jackman's Wrangler. There's a bunch of deleted scenes of Chris Evans in this end credit scene. He actually explains why he wrote it this way. He says that he actually wrote it as a trick to try and get Chris Evans excited about coming back as his version of Johnny Storm, just because he didn't really get to do a lot of foul malice stuff as his version of Captain America in the MCU. Chris Evans' condition for coming back was that the scene wound up in the actual end credits, like he couldn't take it out. And as you can see from the deleted scenes, he actually did the entire rant in a single take. He just had to do it a couple times just because he messed up, because it was so crazy and so rapid fire. He probably had more dialogue from these rants than he did in an entire Captain America movie. Ryan Reynolds also released this longer version of the Gambit end credit scene you can see in the background of the TVA when they're actually doing the scene of Chris Evans in his rant. A lot of people asking, how did Gambit get saved? Who saved him? Because it looks like there's a sling ring portal opening up inside his eyes, not a TVA portal. So if it's not the TVA, who's saving him and which universe is he going to? The biggest possibilities would be Doctor Strange, Wong, somebody else that has a sling ring, or like Deadpool himself, who got a hold of Cassandra Nova's sling ring that she used to open the portal between universes back to his X-Men universe. Personally, if you're talking about just the way they play things in the movie, it would make most sense if it were Deadpool saving Gambit. Like, you know what? We'll save you too. You can come too. I think to also pay off the joke that had Gambit actually got a chance to make his movie, like in real life he made his movie, then he would have been from that original X-Men universe that Deadpool is from with the other X-Men characters. Sean Levy, the director of the movie, also said that at one point he was up for directing that Gambit movie but didn't get the job for whatever reason. He didn't explain why he didn't get the job, but he did say that he was one of the directors that was in the mix for a long time, like he met with Channing Tatum when they were still planning on making it back in the day. I already explained this whole joke with Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, just as him mostly joking on those movies, but Paradox also reveals that they view the MCU in the Sacred Timeline is the only true universe in the multiverse, really to explain why they think the X-Men universe is like this side quest that doesn't really matter. Like, you know what, it's just a bunch of other universes out there, but really it's all about the MCU. We're really focused on protecting that. Ryan Reynolds said that that's meant to be a nod to the idea that when Disney bought Fox, initially when he was pitching Deadpool movies, Marvel was mostly just interested in Deadpool himself and didn't really care about a lot of the other X-Men characters at the time. Like they just wanted Deadpool, but not all of his friends, quote unquote. So that's how the plot in the movie was born, with Deadpool trying to save his friends from being erased when his universe was destroyed by Paradox. The movie itself is like 4 layers deep with references. Like it's a reference to what's happening in real life. Like he references all the Disney Fox stuff happening at the beginning of the movie and throughout the movie. Even though they're meant to be funny jokes, a lot of that is based on stuff that happened in real life. During the deleted scenes, he also makes a Chris Pratt reference saying, I hope you're not expecting too much screen time when he's talking to the other variants, like the other main character variants.
I hope you're not expecting too much screen time. I'm thinking Pratt and Love and Thunder and a second more.
He mentions he's thinking Pratt and Love and Thunder and not a second more. He's talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy cameo at the beginning of Thor: Love and Thunder. They reveal that Ryan Reynolds called Wolverine in the yellow suit while they were filming Admiral Banana. There are a bunch of jokes that Deadpool has in the theatrical cut about the actual yellow suit itself, like, did the X-Men make you wear that? They're not your friend. Making it look like you're fighting crime for the Los Angeles Rams. There's a couple extra jokes during the gag reel where he makes a Michael Eisner reference when he's making the Kevin Feige joke about doing all the coke. If you don't remember Michael Eisner, he was the CEO of Disney before Bob Iger, who left in disgrace. Like, he left because Disney was actually doing fairly poorly as a company around the early 2000s. There are a billion more Easter eggs and hidden details that they reveal during the actual commentary, so just starting with the beginning of that and going through and hitting the really big stuff that they mention. Ryan Reynolds said that he specifically requested that Marvel put the Deadpool movie scenes from the first 2 movies in the new intro at the beginning of the film instead of waiting till the next movie, which would be Captain America: Brave New World. Because usually when Marvel introduces a brand new character in the MCU, they wait to put them in the actual Marvel Studios intro till the next movie. When they were getting ready to make the movie, Ryan Reynolds walked around with a playlist of songs that he thought would be cool in the movie, like just ideas for songs in the movies. He said that the playlist was called Loganpool. He raises one of his big problems with the Wolverine character. This is meant to be kind of a funny problem that he has, is that Wolverine's teeth are not adamantium too like the rest of his skeleton, because technically teeth are made of bone, and all of his bones are supposed to be adamantium. They explained that the company that created the opening titles for the first two Deadpool movies were the ones who came up with the titles for this movie, and they call the concept of this dance pool, the dancing to the NSYNC song throughout the fight. They had already planned to do the fight with Wolverine's adamantium skeleton, but not the dancing part. When Deadpool is blowing out the candles on his cake here, he also curses God for allowing Disney to buy Fox. They also explained this funny montage where they're making all the Coke references was only supposed to be for the trailers. It wasn't supposed to be in the actual final movie, but they laughed at it so much that they just left it in. So there were a lot of scenes that they just specifically made for marketing purposes. They made a bunch of jokes about why Thor was really crying and about how they're making this up as they go. Like they didn't know when they actually shot the scene. It was just meant to be a funny moment. But eventually they'll pay the scene off in a future Avengers movie like Secret Wars and then say that they had always planned to pay it off that particular way, making themselves look like geniuses. And even though Ryan Reynolds was clowning on himself there, Marvel actually does that a lot in real life. Like they'll just kind of make things up as they go and then try to tie it together later with Easter eggs. Like, oh, we always planned to have it this way. He breaks the fourth wall a billion different times during the early part of the movie here, but he said he always wanted to grab the boom mic when he was breaking the fourth wall back during the first Deadpool movie, but the idea is that when they were making the first movie, breaking the fourth wall so much was kind of a new concept in superhero movies like this, so they felt like it was too soon to do it. That was why you saw the references in the meta of it all get even crazier during Deadpool 2, like when he killed a version of himself in another universe before he made the Green Lantern movie. Ryan Reynolds says that one of the reasons why he really likes seeing the X-Men characters now coming to the MCU, and one of the major differences between them and the traditional MCU superheroes, is that the X-Men characters are more morally flexible and will frequently do the wrong thing at any given moment than the MCU heroes, which tend to be more straight up good or bad. We're slowly starting to see them blur the lines more and more in the more recent Marvel movies, though. After the Wolverine montage, the multiverse with him seeing all the different versions, when he brings this Wolverine back to the TVA in the suit, there was a deleted scene where he refers to Wolverine's butt as Canada's ass, making a Captain America joke from Endgame, like that's America's ass. Sean Levy said that that's specifically why they framed the shot, so that you could actually see Wolverine's butt making the exact same pose as Captain America's body when he passed out and looked at his butt during Endgame. Later in the movie, the reason why Nice Pool has a Honda Odyssey and then gives it to them with all the jokes of Deadpool ripping Hondas as terrible cars is because Sean Levy, the director, owns a Honda Odyssey like this exact car in real life because he has a huge family, but he also calls the car Betsy in real life, which is why Nice Pool in the movie calls his Honda Betsy. They didn't explain which version of Spider-Man Deadpool actually knows, but they did reference all of these different Spidey scenes, just saying that they had a lot of fun with them. Personally, because Deadpool is so familiar with the MCU characters, I think the idea is that he knows who Tom Holland's Spider-Man is. When Wolverine stops the car and dresses him down, it's meant to be a reference to the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles scene where Steve Martin's character dresses down John Candy's character, the I like me speech. When they're all on their way to the final battle in the car, Deadpool breaks the fourth wall again, telling the cameraman to tilt the camera up to Blade as he stands up to fire the rocket launcher. Early on in the movie, there's a James Mangold joke where he says Wolverining is hard and they tell him to stop. Deadpool says Mangold tried, implying that James Mangold actually tried to prevent Marvel from bringing back Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in this movie. There are a couple news outlets that actually asked him about that. He was definitely not happy about this whole concept in the movie. I already talked about a lot of the different Easter eggs and references with the characters and the items from different Marvel movies at the Ant-Man base. But when they were making the movie, they actually called it Ant-Man Arena. If you look inside the version of Cerebro that she built into the inside of Ant-Man's helmet, you notice that she actually has Thanos' throne from the Avengers movies, meaning that at some point she killed versions of Thanos, probably multiple versions of Thanos, but also took his Dark Aster ship at some point, salvaged it, because that's where the throne came from. Also, there's a lot of his Q ships throughout the void, too. On her throne is Doctor Strange's Cloak of Levitation and the sling ring that has both of the Infinity Stones in it too. If you notice, Ryan Reynolds actually posted this a little while ago too. It's a plaque that says Deadpool and friend with them holding hands. Notice it only has 2 Wolverine claws on it too. Like, where's the third claw here? He said when they were getting ready to reveal the movie to everyone, like after they'd been shooting it for a while, one of the titles actually was Deadpool and Friend. Like they were thinking about calling the movie that for a long time until he leaked out the title to see how people responded, if people liked it, and everybody hated it. So behind the scenes, they scrambled to come up with a new title for the movie, which wound up being Deadpool and Wolverine. But like during the behind the scenes, Hugh Jackman also jokes, I think of the movie as Wolverine and Deadpool, like he calls it Wolverine and Deadpool. When Cassandra Nova takes Wolverine into his mind, what she's actually trying to do here, per Ryan Reynolds, is basically turn him evil because she wants to stick it to Professor X again, making his favorite X-Man her new favorite X-Man. There was an alternate plot for the movie for her character, featuring more Professor X backstory, where he would have been fighting her and have sent her to the void, but in the final theatrical version, they just changed that to explain that the TVA pruned her when she was a baby before she was able to walk. And even though most of the focus on breaking the fourth wall is watching Deadpool do it throughout the movie, there's one time where you could actually say that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine kind of breaks the fourth wall. This scene where he punches Pyro out saying not everybody gets a speech was actually supposed to be Deadpool's line in the script, but Ryan Reynolds gave the line to Wolverine, like, you say it, it'll be funnier if you do it. And he says one of his great prides in life now is that after this scene where Deadpool calls the Sling Ring portal Marvel's Sparkle Circle, they said that everybody at Marvel, including Kevin Feige, now always call these Marvel Sparkle Circles. Like that's the name that Marvel uses for them going forward now. There are a billion other deleted scenes and little hidden details in the background that I've referenced in my other Deadpool deleted scenes videos, so I'll link those at the end of this and down in the description below. As you can see from like the 10 different videos that I've done on this, there are like a billion different versions of this movie. There's like whole other movies that you could release inside this movie full of deleted scenes. A lot of the plans for Deadpool and Wolverine going forward also changed while they were making this movie. Like I said, originally, Kang Dynasty was going to be Avengers 5. They had this whole Kang plot, so they planned on bringing Deadpool and Wolverine back during Secret Wars, but not so much during Avengers 5. Now that's all changed just because of the success of the movie and because of their new plans with Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom in making Avengers 5 a version of Doomsday. So there is a pretty good chance that they might actually be featured at some point during Avengers 5, maybe in like a post-credit scene, but mostly during Avengers 6 Secret Wars with a lot of the other variants from other universes again. If there's any other big Easter eggs or references that you saw in the movie that I didn't talk about in this video or my other deleted scenes videos that I posted the last couple of weeks, just write them below in the comments. There are a couple other Spider-Man references peppered throughout the movie. When he's fighting Deadpool the first time on the void in front of the 20th Century Fox logo, they actually mimic the fight scene that Peter Parker had with his Flash Thompson in Tobey Maguire's first Spider-Man movie. And for a while in the movie, this diner that they eat at was meant to be the same pizza place from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2, but at some point they just changed that and removed the reference, probably because they wanted to pull back on a lot of the Spider-Man references. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. We're in the middle of Agatha episodes. My episode 4 video will post tomorrow. I just did my review video for Joker 2. I'll do a video for the ending later this week too, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here and here for all the many other deleted scenes and alternate jokes from Deadpool and Wolverine. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.